Hey everybody, Ray here. Today we're going to have a little departure from my normal DIY videos. It's mid-October here in Illinois, and what that means is the weather's starting to get cool, really cool at night, and it's time for me to start thinking about camping. I like to go camping when it's cooler and it's not as crowded, so it's that time of year for me. This year, I decided I wanted to improve my cooking system, so I wanted to go out and get one of these fast boil pots. I was originally looking at this unit called the Minimo by a company named Jetboil. This is a friend of mine's, and I've always been impressed at how well it works and how quickly it can boil water. So like I'm sure a lot of you do, I spent a whole bunch of time out there on YouTube looking at different reviews on this Minimo by Jetboil. What I did stumble on were several reviews about this Stryker 200 made by a company called Camp Chef. I bought this at Walmart. It was $64. This retails for $149. That's a dramatic difference in price. So I decided that I would pick this up and I would test it side by side with this Minimo and see what I thought. You may come to different conclusions after you see my test, but at the end, I'll give you the results and what I think of the two units and which one I'm going to keep. So let's talk a little bit about what these units come with when you buy them. They both come with a lid. They both come with a neoprene jacket around the outside so you can handle the pots when they're hot without burning yourself. They both come with a stove. Both stoves have the wire adjustment for the fuel and the piezo igniter. Here's the same one here, similar wire adjustment, and the piezo igniter. They both come with the burner stand, so you can put your canister of fuel on there and it'll make it much more stable. They both come with lids, but let's talk about that a little bit. The lid that comes with the Minimo actually has a place to store the burner stand, which I think is kind of neat. And the lid that comes with the Minimo fits on here very securely. So if you were boiling pasta or something and you want to pour water off, you could do that very safely. And the handles on the side are very convenient. They just fold out and you can grab them and pour that water off. The lid that comes with the Stryker, I don't think is a very good design. It fits on there very loosely, so if you tried to pour something out, you'd dump water all over the place. Now, it's got a little bit different handle assembly. It holds the lid on and then snaps down, and frankly, I like this style handle a little bit better. But the only way you'd be able to actually pour hot water out of there would be if you lock the lid back in place, and then it would hold that lid on. And it's just kind of a lot of nonsense to go through if you want to pour water off. Both of these pots claim a liter. This claims more than a liter capacity. This one by Jetboil says a short liter. I've never heard of that, but I'm thinking it means something less than a liter. I think a liter is about 4.2 cups. I can tell you that I put a liter in this one, no problem at all. It was about that far from the top. I'd feel very comfortable boiling a liter in this pot. If I try to put a liter in this pot, it is absolutely full up to the edge. There's no way you could even get the lid on without pushing water out, and I wouldn't feel very safe trying to boil that. The safe boil range capacity to me on this was about 3 cups, which again put it about that far below the top. So a better capacity pot with the Stryker than you get with the Jetboil, at least in my estimation. Now, something that you get with the Stryker that you don't get with the Jetboil is an adapter. And that adapter will fit on the top of a regular propane tank. And then they give you this extra stand to hold that propane tank. So you would put the adapter on the propane tank, and then you'd screw everything to your stove unit, which would sit up here, and then you can put your pot up here. Now it's going to be sitting pretty high when you do that, but I think the ability to be able to use dual fuels is really pretty good. At the time I'm filming this, which is October 2021, I actually saw on the REI website that they were having a shortage of these canisters. I went over to Walmart and bought a couple of canisters yesterday. They seem to have plenty on the shelf. But at the end of the day, you can find these propane tanks in a lot more stores than you can find these canisters. So by carrying this adapter with you, you could always run out somewhere and find these, and you wouldn't run out of fuel. Whereas if you're looking for the canisters, it's kind of more of a specialty store kind of an item. Now, one additional item that does come with the Jetboil minimo is what's called a pot support. If you wanted to use this stove and put a tea kettle on there or a frying pan or something like that, you can't do it, because when you set that on here, you'd be sitting right on top of that piezo igniter and way too close to the burner. So it wouldn't be good for the stove, and it certainly wouldn't be good for your pots. So what they now include with these is a pot support, and that pot support fits on top of this with legs to support a frying pan or a tea kettle or something, and it keeps it about 1.5 inches off of this burner, so it allows you to use this burner for other things other than just boiling water. You don't get that with the Stryker unit. Both of these units do have the flux ring in here that really increases how quickly you can boil water. These flux rings are really something else, and they really look very similar, other than this is a much wider base on this than you have on the minimo. But that's about it. That's everything that comes with both of these units. Okay, so now we're going to do the boil test to see which one boils 2 cups of water more rapidly. As you can see, I have 2 cups of water here, and I'm first going to boil 2 cups of water in the minimo. I went out and I bought 2 brand new fuel canisters yesterday, so these should be exactly the same in terms of being full. And I brought a larger jug of water out here that I'm measuring the 2 cups out of, so the water temperature ought to be about the same. So we will first start our minimo here. I'll start it slowly. We'll get pot on there. Turn it up. Start the timer. All right, we're going to call that a rolling boil at 1 minute 43 seconds. I should point out that both of the units, if you look at the stoves, they have these little dipples, and both of the units slide down over those dipples with this slot, and then you twist it tight. So they become very secure on there, and they're not going to fall off. Now I'm going to repeat that same 2-cup test. There's my 2 cups of water. I'm going to put it in the Stryker 200 here. I'll start my stove on low. Put my pot on, turn it up, and start the timer. All right, we'll call that a rolling boil on the Stryker. 1 minute 54 seconds. Well, that's about as fair a side-by-side comparison that I can give you. I think the boil time, to say that the Stryker was 11 seconds slower than this, was pretty interesting, because I've done this test about 4 times, and when I talked to my friend about some of the variances in time, that the Stryker could actually be as much as 30 seconds slower than the Jetboil, He said, well, you probably need to make sure that you're using exactly the same type of fuel and both are full fuel canisters. Well, when I did that, that really kind of balanced things out. And I don't think you could test it any more fairly than I did that. So 11 seconds longer to boil with this than to boil with this. I've got a summary sheet that I made up about these two units. I'm going to go over that real quick, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my conclusions. Here's a side-by-side comparison. The Jetboil minimo's capacity, their claimed capacity, is 1 liter short, which I calculated back to be about 4 cups. I really wouldn't feel safe with having any more than 3 cups in that pot. The Camp Chef Stryker shows that their pot will have 1 liter plus volume, and I could easily get 5 cups in there. The weight of the Jetboil on my scale was 15.3 ounces or 434 grams. The Camp Chef, without the adapter for the propane, is 18.9 ounces and 539 grams. With the propane converter and stand, it's 25.5 ounces or 726 grams. In terms of size, the Jetboil Minimo is 5.75 inches high and 4.87 inches wide. The Camp Chef is 8 inches high and 4.75 inches wide. The price of the mini boil, this is as of October 2021, was $149. Camp Chef at Walmart was $64. The 2-cup boil time was 1 minute and 43 seconds for the Jetboil, 1 minute and 54 seconds for Camp Chef. Outstanding for both of them. What comes included are the pots with the measurements, the lids. The Jetboil has a cup and an additional support for pots, which the Stryker does not have. They both come with their burners, a fuel tank stand for those burners, a piezo igniter, but the Stryker comes additionally with a propane converter and a propane stand. So the Stryker is dual fuel, being able to burn both isobutane and propane, whereas the fuel used in the Jetboil is only isobutane. So in summary, both pots work great. If you want to boil water quickly, either one of these will do the job. What really separates the two for me is simply the price. If you compare $149 to $64, that's like a 57% difference in the price of the two. Now, will this hold up as long and be as reliable as the Jetboil? Well, I don't have a clue. But for the price difference, I'm willing to take a risk on the Stryker. They are just too similar in what they provide for me to want to pay that much more money for Jetboil. Now, when you think about the weight difference, you've got about 3.6 ounces. This is 3.6 ounces lighter without the fuel than this unit. And if you carry the converter and the extra stand, it's more like 9 ounces lighter or something like that. But if you didn't have this stand and this converter for 3.5 ounces, I'd say for the extra capacity that you're getting on this, I don't mind the extra weight. If you're backpacking, you're an ounce counter, and you want to stay low as possible, go with this guy right here. I have no doubt that you'll be very satisfied. I just don't really have the need for that much lower weight that I'm counting ounces. So that's kind of what I think of these two. I hope that this video was of help to you. If it was, don't forget, give me that thumbs up. It really helps with my YouTube metrics. And subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.